Hi, if you've forgotten, I'm Chris from the YouTube channel B&B Spoilers. Welcome back to my channel. I am absolutely buzzing today because we have to talk about a massive, life-altering summer spoiler. We are breaking down a shocking unplanned pregnancy that is about to rock the Spencer and Forrester families to their very core. The Bold and the Beautiful is setting the stage for an explosive summer sweeps event that will leave the Forrester and Spencer dynasties in absolute ruins. The rumor mill has been absolutely screaming about an unplanned pregnancy destined to shock both rival gangs. We are staring down the barrel of a life-altering scandal that will rewrite the future of Los Angeles. Well, Spencer has been a dangerously busy guy this month. Did he accidentally get Electra Forrester or Melissa Dillon pregnant? The fallout from this single question is about to tear the fashion industry apart. Well, Spencer is currently spiraling completely out of control. His ruthless banishment from the Forrester estate by a furious Eric Forrester left him utterly broken. Eric marched into the mansion, caught while pleading his desperate case to Electra, and violently demanded she kick him to the curb. Electra caved to the intense family pressure, leaving Will humiliated and formally banished from the property. Will immediately retreated to the bikini bar, demanding to be left alone with his beer and his misery. But misery attracts opportunistic company, and Melissa Dillon is not a woman who misses a golden opening. Dillon will make her highly calculated move, swooping in to give Will a much-needed shoulder to cry on after this messy, humiliating breakup. She has been watching the Forrester and Spencer drama unfold from the sidelines, patiently biding her time. Seeing Will completely shattered, vulnerable, and desperate for validation gives her the perfect avenue of attack. Dillon will slide onto the couch next to him, actively ignoring his demands for isolation, and begin her aggressive, targeted seduction. She knows exactly how to play the supportive, understanding friend while simultaneously planting the dangerous seeds of passion. Of course, one thing will inevitably lead to another in the soap opera world. The former roommates will undoubtedly be romping around Will's beach house bedroom by the end of the week. Will Jr. might attempt to play hard to get initially, perhaps pushing Dillon away out of some lingering, tortured loyalty to Electra. But Will has been single for almost 48 hours, and the poor guy is super lonely. His emotional defenses are completely obliterated. The alcohol from the bikini bar and the sharp sting of Electra's rejection will create a toxic, irresistible cocktail of phenomenally poor decision-making. It is only going to be a matter of time before Will finally gives in to the beautiful ballerina's advances. We all know Will is an absolute sucker for a girl in a tutu. Dillon possesses a unique blend of grace and desperation that Will finds intoxicating when he is at his lowest point. The beach house will become the epicenter of a massive, life-altering mistake as Will and Dillon cross the line from former roommates to passionate lovers. They will tear off their clothes and dive into a night of reckless abandon, completely ignoring the catastrophic consequences that await them in the morning light. Melissa Dillon has struggled immensely to get on her feet since she first arrived in Los Angeles. She finally stopped having to dumpster dive for groceries and secured a legitimate, paying position at Forrester Creations. The absolute last thing she needs in her chaotic life right now is an unplanned pregnancy and another mouth to feed. A baby would completely derail her hard-fought financial stability. But as every soap opera fan knows, birth control is practically non-existent in this universe. Blind passion always overrides basic precaution when the drama demands it. When Dillon inevitably misses her period, the sheer, unadulterated panic will set in. She will lock herself in the tiny bathroom at Forrester Creations, staring at a positive pregnancy test in absolute horror. Her entire world will collapse in an instant. She is carrying the heir to the Spencer billion-dollar empire, but she is also carrying a child that will permanently tie her to a man who is still desperately in love with another woman. Dillon will have to make a rapid decision, hide the truth to protect her new job, or use the baby as the ultimate weapon to trap Will Spencer forever. We must also look at Will Spencer's terrifyingly fertile track record. He only slept with the diabolical serial killer Luna Nozawa one single time, and that isolated, chaotic encounter accidentally resulted in a rapid pregnancy. Will's DNA is incredibly potent, and his reckless behavior is a ticking time bomb. If one night with Luna was enough to create a child, then a passionate, vulnerable night with Melissa Dillon is virtually guaranteed to result in a Spencer spawn. But the drama absolutely does not stop with Dillon. The situation is about to become infinitely more complicated and destructive. Electra Forrester could easily get some shocking, world-shattering news of her own in the upcoming weeks. She might find out that she is pregnant as well. Electra and Will were only reunited for a couple of highly intense weeks before the corporate espionage and Ivy Forrester's toxic manipulation tore them apart. However, they spent the vast majority of that brief reunion locked securely inside Will's bedroom, completely consumed by each other physically. They thought they were building a permanent future together, completely unaware that Ivy was actively sabotaging their happiness behind the scenes. Imagine the sheer panic when Electra starts feeling dizzy and nauseous in the Forrester Creations design room. She might initially attribute the physical weakness to the intense stress of the fashion wars or R.J. Forrester's relentless, suffocating pursuit of her affections. But the symptoms will persist and grow stronger. Electra will sneak out to the pharmacy, terrified of being spotted by the paparazzi or her own judgmental family members. The exact moment Electra looks down at the two pink lines on her pregnancy test, the entire landscape of the Forrester and Spencer feud will shift permanently. If Electra is pregnant, the timing could not possibly be worse for anyone involved. Will just engaged in a massive, violent physical brawl with R.J. Forrester. The fight escalated to the point where Eric Forrester intervened and was brutally knocked unconscious. R.J. is currently playing the victim perfectly, parading his bruised ribs around the office and demanding Will's head on a silver platter. Electra is caught right in the middle of this toxic masculinity showdown. Discovering she is carrying Will's child right after he viciously attacked her cousin will leave her completely paralyzed with fear and indecision. R.J. Forrester has been circling Electra like a predatory vulture, waiting for Will to self-destruct so he can swoop in and claim her as his ultimate prize. If Electra discovers she is pregnant with Will's baby, R.J.'s reaction will be dangerously unpredictable. R.J. despises Will and views him as a sleazy, greedy Spencer who brings nothing but violence. Discovering that the woman he desires is permanently tied to his absolute worst enemy might push R.J. entirely over the edge. R.J. might actually attempt to convince Electra to pass the baby off as his own, offering to raise the child just to protect her from the Spencer chaos. Now, brace yourselves for the ultimate, apocalyptic soap opera scenario, the double pregnancy. What if Will Spencer managed to accidentally impregnate both Electra Forrester and Melissa Dillon within the exact same month? This nightmare scenario would ignite a level of warfare never before seen in Los Angeles. Two women, both tied to Forrester Creations, both carrying the offspring of the Spencer prince. The sheer logistical nightmare of Will trying to manage two pregnant women who absolutely despise each other would be television gold of the highest order. The impending showdown between Dillon and Electra will tear the roof completely off the Forrester building. Dillon, realizing she is carrying the Spencer heir, might march right up to Electra and shamelessly flaunt her positive test. Electra, already hormonal and furious over Will's betrayal, will unleash the legendary Forrester wrath. The two women will engage in a violent screaming match that will echo through the design corridors. Electra will accuse Dillon of trapping Will, while Dillon will fire back that Will came to her bed because Electra foolishly abandoned him. Dollar Bill Spencer will view this entire chaotic situation as a massive corporate and personal victory, twisted as that may be. Bill has been desperately trying to pull Will into the Logan fold and mold him into a ruthless, unfeeling businessman. Finding out that Will has successfully seeded the next generation of Spencers will fill Bill with arrogant pride. Bill will immediately deploy his massive army of lawyers and PR fixers to aggressively control the narrative. He will demand full custody of the children, throwing his billions around to ensure the Spencer legacy is protected at all costs. Ridge Forrester will absolutely lose his mind when the pregnancy news drops. He has already declared all-out, merciless war on the Spencers over Katie and Bill stealing Eric's designs for the House of Logan launch. Ridge is currently preparing to unleash legal wrath against Will for assaulting R.J. Finding out that Will has impregnated his niece, or worse, both Electra and Dillon, will push Ridge into a murderous rage. Ridge will storm into Spencer Publications, slamming his fists on Bill's desk, demanding the Spencers stay away from his family forever. Eric Forrester's fury will reach unprecedented, dangerous levels. Eric just marched into the Forrester estate and ruthlessly banished Will from the property, screaming at him to stay away from Electra. Finding out that Will's DNA is now permanently linked to the Forrester bloodline will devastate the patriarch. Eric will view this pregnancy as the ultimate Spencer invasion of his sanctuary. He will rally the entire Forrester family, demanding they close ranks and protect Electra from Bill's inevitable, ruthless attempts to buy the child away from them. Katie Logan Spencer will find herself caught in the absolute worst crossfire imaginable. She just launched her massive Logan fashion line, utilizing Eric's designs and poaching Hope Logan to secure a massive industry victory. Now, her son Will is at the center of the biggest, most scandalous pregnancy drama in Los Angeles history. Katie will be horrified by Will's reckless behavior, but her maternal instincts will kick in fiercely. She will go to war against Brooke and Ridge to aggressively protect her son and her future grandchild from the harsh Forrester judgment. Brooke Logan Forrester will be torn apart by this scandal. Brooke just returned from a wellness center, desperately hoping to restore peace and plan a glamorous trip to Monaco. Instead, she is walking directly into a war zone. Brooke will try to mediate between Ridge's explosive anger and Katie's defensive posturing, but she will fail miserably. Brooke will demand that Will take responsibility for his actions, but she will also warn Electra about the severe dangers of tying herself to the Spencer men, drawing heavily on her own traumatic history with Dollar Bill. This explosive, accidental fertility drama will serve as a cruel, heartbreaking contrast to Daphne Rose Walton's current nightmare. Daphne just received a completely devastating diagnosis from Dr. Lee Finnegan, early menopause and total infertility. While Daphne and Carter Walton are paralyzed by grief, desperately looking into surrogacy and adoption options, Will Spencer is out here effortlessly impregnating multiple women by accident. The sheer injustice of this situation will cause massive emotional friction when Daphne learns of Dylan and Electra's dual pregnancies. Will Spencer will be forced into an impossible, suffocating corner. If both women are indeed pregnant, he must choose between the glamorous Forrester princess who shattered his heart and the desperate former roommate who picked up the pieces. Will loves Electra, but his pride is severely wounded. Dylan offers him unconditional physical support, but her motives are highly questionable and financially driven. Will is going to have to step up and become a father immediately, but the path he chooses will determine the ultimate victor in the Forrester versus Spencer corporate war. Ivy Forrester's role in this disaster cannot be ignored. Ivy shamelessly manipulated Electra, hiding Will's letter and actively sabotaging their romantic reunion. When Electra discovers she is pregnant, the truth about Ivy's toxic interference will finally explode into the open. Electra will realize that if Ivy hadn't meddled, she and Will would still be together, and this pregnancy would be a blessing instead of a massive crisis. Electra will unleash a furious vengeance upon her aunt, potentially demanding that Steffi and Ridge fire Ivy from Forrester Creations permanently. Steffi Forrester Finnegan is already dealing with an apocalyptic crisis in her own marriage. Finn just dropped the massive bombshell that he wants to let the murderous Sheila back into their lives. Steffi is fighting a desperate, screaming battle to protect her children from Sheila. When the news of Will's reckless pregnancies breaks, Steffi will use it as further proof that the Spencers bring nothing but chaos and destruction. Steffi will demand that Dylan be fired immediately and that Electra cut all ties with Will to protect the Forrester brand. The upcoming fashion launches will be completely derailed by this scandal. Katie and Bill are planning a massive media stunt to distract from Eric's couture launch. But absolutely nothing distracts the press quite like a scandalous double pregnancy involving the heirs of the two biggest fashion houses in the world. The paparazzi will swarm the Forrester building and Spencer publications relentlessly. The runway shows will become literal battlegrounds, with reporters screaming questions about Will's unborn children instead of focusing on the million-dollar dresses. The battle lines are permanently drawn in the sand. The Spencer and Forrester gangs are about to engage in a bloody, unforgiving war over the next generation. While Spencer's moment of weakness at the beach house has ignited a powder keg that will destroy relationships, shatter corporate alliances, and change the landscape of Los Angeles forever. The summer of the Spencer spawn is upon us, and nobody is going to make it out of this wreckage unscathed. Who will choose if both women are carrying a Spencer heir? Drop your wildest theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for our next explosive breakdown.